Happy Homebrew Wednesday from the Dean's List. So, no beer for me today. This is the only kind of ale that I'm drinking. I'm only about, 6 days kind of recovered from the surgery I had last week. So I'll spend just a minute talking about that. But then I want to talk about some other beer topics and some kind of exciting things on the horizon. So anyway, got some message coming in here. Sorry about that. Had some notifications pop on. Hopefully it doesn't do it for the rest of the video. So don't worry about me. I'm actually happy to get up. I've been laying flat on my back for the last 6 days, and this is a nice change to be able to get up and get outside and feel somewhat normal again. I'm not doing any lifting. I'm not doing any brewing, at least not for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to lift anything. So nothing heavier than 5 pounds, I think, is all I can lift. So anyway, the surgery, I'm still kind of, jury's out right now. In terms of the procedure itself, the doctor says that everything went fine. You can see I got a nice little scar here. The original one was on the right side. This one's down here on the left, and I got a little stitch in where they had a little drain tube going in. Probably get that taken out tomorrow. But anyway, from a procedure standpoint, it sounds like it was a resounding success. And I'm going to cut in a video probably right about here.
All right, so here's the brackets that came out of my neck. Isn't that weird? It looks like some screws you pick up at Home Depot or Lowe's. There's the bracket. So there was this bracket here that they attached to the vertebrae, and each one of these eyelets, they had one of these four screws in there. So now they took this thing out and replaced it because they went from a 1-level fusion to a 3-level fusion. So you can imagine there's a much bigger bracket in there now with I don't know how many screws is in there. I guess I'll find out when I see my x-ray for the first time. So cheers.
So hopefully just now you saw the hardware that was taken out of my neck from the last surgery. Kind of gnarly that I woke up and here you go. Took this out of your neck. Thought that was kind of neat. They washed it off so it's all sterile and everything. So anyway, so the reason I'm kind of so about it right now, it's really hard to swallow. Not that my throat's sore, but that I just feel like my esophagus is really constricted. Like you got something stuck in your throat, and swallowing is really tough right now. And so that doesn't go away. That's going to make eating and drinking not a very fun activity. So hopefully that's just a temporary thing. And then otherwise, I'm still feeling kind of, yesterday was really bad. I think it was like, I think I went through withdrawal symptoms because I'd been on this oxy medicine for several days on, pretty heavy doses to keep the pain at bay, and kind of went off it yesterday because I didn't feel any pain, and I was nauseous the whole second half of the day, and it was really bad. So I feel much better today, and my wife called me and says, hey, I bet you're going through withdrawal symptoms, like a drug user. So anyway, not getting on any more of that stuff. That stuff just does bad things to you. But anyway, enough about that. What I do want to talk about is beer, and have gotten a lot of beer mail from everybody. Not going to be doing any reviews anytime soon, but kind of got to get a little healthier before I go chugging down beer, and so I can properly enjoy it. So don't fret. I will certainly review your beers and post them, and it's going to be good because I'm not going to have any homebrew ready to drink for a while. I got a little bit in my kegs, and I'm sure with rotating people coming over, that'll disappear. But what I did, when you get laid up like this, you end up doing a lot of reading. And so yesterday I was reading, it's been bothering me the last couple of brews I've done. I did one with Tyler Everson and then another one with Josh Hoover. And in both cases, I started well before those guys. Well, not so much with Tyler, but with Josh, I started like an hour or two, probably 2 hours in front of him, and he ended up passing me in the process on the same recipe. And where I'm losing all my time is in the sparge. Now I have a Blickman engineering kind of system. I've got a Blickman engineering boil kettle, mash tun, and then the Bayou Classic 15-gallon hot liquor tank. And then I've got a couple of chugger pumps, and and I use a Herm system. And to complete off my Herm system, I have a Blickman auto sparge arm, which has the little floating ball, and you've probably seen them. They're pretty standard. And I think that until now, I've never really dug into the instruction manual on that. I kind of looked at it just enough to figure it out, which really isn't like me, because I generally read instructions pretty thoroughly, unlike my wife. Anytime I get a new gadget or something that has to be set up, I'll spend a whole lot of time reading it, and then it'll take me a fraction of the time to put the thing in operation as what it takes my wife. And two different approaches. We both get to the same end state usually, but I just do it a little quicker. Well, in this case, I didn't read the instructions manual apparently thoroughly, because what I've been doing is so the way the auto sparge arm works, you have your intake to the sparge coming into the top from the outtake or outflow of either the pump or your hot liquor tank. And what you're supposed to do is you connect everything up, and then you open up your outflow from your HLT or your pump, full blast, and then you set the floating ball. There's a little adjustable screw. You unscrew it, you loosen it up, and you adjust that floating ball where you want it to cut off additional fluid intake, and then you tighten it back down. Then it drops down, and then as the fluid level gets high, it shuts off the water, and then so it auto corrects as it goes. Well, I haven't been doing that. So what I've been doing is I'll turn it on full blast out of the or not even full blast. I'll turn it on kind of half valve coming out of the hot liquor tank, and then it shoots out pretty fast, and then I let it fill up, and then I tighten everything down. But then I adjust both the outflow of the hot liquor tank and the outflow of the mash tun into the boil kettle to try to constantly keep them synced, and it keeps getting lower and lower and lower volume of flow. It ends up taking me damn near 2 hours to do a sparge, sometimes even longer than 2 hours, and it's been driving me crazy. So I read through the instruction manual yesterday, and saw that I was doing it wrong. I'm supposed to open it up, and then you let that float ball, once the fluid level starts dropping as you're outflowing your steady stream into the boil kettle, it drops the ball, which then eventually lets water come back in the intake, as opposed to trying to adjust it. So you're letting the Blickman engineering do what it was designed to do. I haven't been doing that, so I feel stupid, because I've been doing this now for about a year, if not longer, more longer than a year. And I don't know, maybe I did it right the first time and just forgot. But once you get a bad habit, you kind of reinforce it, because you do the same thing precise over and over and over again. And I just have these ridiculously long brew days. So I'm anxious now when I get my grains for the next brew I'm going to do, probably in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. I think I'm going to have a completely different result. And it's probably going to affect my efficiency a little bit too, because one of the benefits of sparging really, really slowly is you get like ridiculous efficiencies, like in the 90s, So anyway, I'll probably be back down about where I should be, and I'll be able to better dial in my recipes. So that's that. Other thing on brewing, so yesterday I'm talking with Tony Yates. He just got a beer mail I sent to him, and kind of excited to see Tony try my beers, because he's one of the first guys I started watching when I started doing this. But we got to talking, and I was telling him how I really liked Goose Island IPA, and I wanted to make an IPA kind of along that style. So he and I started kind of chatting back and forth, and I think we're going to end up kind of doing a little collab together and do like a goose clone. I'm calling it what I call it. I called it Calcutta Nectar, for the East India Beer Company, trip back and forth to Calcutta. So he looked at the recipe I had, actually kind of brought to my attention there was additional hop in there, Pilgrim hop, that I didn't have in my recipe, because I was using this Goose Island commercial that came on the other day, which was cool because I'd never seen one, and it was talking about the different hops they use, and they mentioned Celia, Centennial, and Cascade. So I designed my recipe with those three, got the IB, and it's funny, I really only listened to that bit from the commercial. I didn't go and look up a clone recipe or search online. I just took that bit of information and started putting together a recipe in my head that I thought would taste like Goose Island. And when I was finished, the IBUs and the ABV were right about spot on to what Goose Island IPA is. And I think the color was pretty close too. So anyway, he and I exchanged some ideas back and forth, and he's been tweaking the recipe a bit. So I think that that's what I'm gonna look to brew for my return to brewing as soon as I'm able to, which should be a couple of weeks from now. So wow, so yeah, that's a pretty good rant there, but a little over 8 minutes. It's really cool starting to see some reviews of all the beer mails I sent out. Glad you guys are enjoying them. Yeah, I really enjoyed the New England IPA I did. I think if I had to do it again, I would adjust the temp a little bit and get a little more sweetness out of it. That's one thing I wish I would have put into it, and adjust the color a little bit. It's a little on the green side, which maybe isn't bad for a something called swamp haze, but I want to get it more of that kind of golden color haze, kind of a burnt sunrise, or I guess how I would describe it. So anyway, the cool thing about this kind of hiatus from brewing is I get to think a lot about my brewing technique and go back and look through recipes and kind of plan out the rest of the year. I've been going fast and furious on this collaboration and brewing other people's recipe themes and throwing in a few original recipes now and then. I've done, probably already 7 or 8 batches, I think. I have to go back and look at my videos. So this time off, allowing me to kind of come up with some new recipes, and it's good because I can't get up and do a whole lot of stuff right now. I might go walk around the block later just to get a little bit of exercise, but I'll start feeling woozy if I walk around too much. So taking it easy, don't worry, being smart about it, and my wife's being great. She's been awesome taking care of me, and I'm just starting to kind of feel like humanity has kind of disappeared, and I'm kind of left. It's kind of like the Omega Man. I'm kind of left here by myself right now. So looking forward to hang out with the family tonight when they get home. And my daughter found out that she got picked up on the white level travel soccer team, which is a huge honor. I think there's 2 girls from her team, her and another girl, that were asked to move up to the white team for next season. So that's very exciting. Going to be a whole different game now. It's a whole different level, and it should be fun to watch. So anyway, those are all the updates from the Dean's List. Sorry, no brewing, going to be going on for a while. I have to go back now and put in that shot of the hardware from my throat. Hopefully I don't gross you guys out too much. But hey, listen, have yourself a happy homebrew, unlike me, and have an even better, hope you're having great weather like this too. Have even a better happy homebrew Wednesday. Cheers.
Putting this in, forgot to do an update on my hops. So this is my Willamette hops, which are growing pretty strong, not compared to some of you guys and some of those more like Oregon climates. And I think Andrew, not on Sunday's Brewing down in Georgia's got his hops around 15 feet. Mine are about a little over 5.5 feet right now. So that's the Willamette, which is kind of weird. It took off like that last year, but then it stalled and never had any cones. Whereas this one here is my Centennial, and this one starts out really slow. It's not even it's barely starting to wrap around on the string now. But this thing usually takes off and then produces the most cones. So I was able to use a bag or 2 for a beer recipe last year. So we'll try to weave this in the video. Cheers.